Hey y'all, we are back with a Berryessa 25th and 26th report bass fishing. We have been sturgeon fishing for the last couple months, and tournament season's coming around. Time to kick it back to bass fishing. Set up for weather on this. Thursday night, it snowed 4 inches at Berryessa, and it stuck around. I couldn't pre-fish on Friday at all. Roads were closed. So my original thought on that was it's going to shake up the fish. Turns out it may not have shook them up. Might want to stay tuned for that, because definitely a different frame of mind is what ended up winning it. And one of us won it. One of us, they were okay. First off would be Saturday the 25th. I'll start out my morning. He can talk about his. My total weight for the day was 1145. His total weight for the day was 1196 for Saturday. I started the day, went into the Narrows, thinking that snow was going to push him, turn him off basically. Ran into the Narrows. First point I went to, threw an A-rig across it, drew out 6 fish from up shallow. Should have been one of my clues, didn't listen to it, fished down some more. Ended up fishing 45-degree points, like main lake points or main channel points down in the Narrows that had weed related to them. And what I was doing with that was drop shot with the good old Sorry Steve. That's Jackall watermelon candy, dead sticking it, slow crawling it, 10 foot or less. Did pick up one in that 20-foot range. But that bite shut off at about 12 to 1 o'clock-ish. How'd your morning go?
Well, with the snow, I fully thought the largemouth were going to be shut down. I told James in the morning that my game plan was I'm going to go to the Narrows, low and slow. I was going to throw a Ned rig and just try to scratch up a limit. I was hoping just for one fish to save points, realistically. I did tell him that if I got a limit, that I was going to run and try to run down the east side or a couple other spots where the week before we found fish in the area. So I ran in, I threw on a Ned rig on a rocky bank in the Narrows, main channel towards the dam, and lost 2 Ned rigs pretty fast in the rocks. And I ended up putting on a copper truce Ned rig, the small one, the Z-Man baits, and I picked up a dink immediately, and but still didn't fire anything up. Moved to another spot, and I started picking them up, and I started changing colors. I ended up with Gobi Bryant, and it's this color right here, Gobi Bryant. And I pretty much got a limit, and I had a limit by about 11:45. Tournament start time was 8 o'clock.
A limit of, what would you say your weight was?
I didn't weigh any of them. They're probably around 7.5 to 8 pounds.
For 5.
For 5. I had one fish.
Typical
smallie spot.
Yeah, typical smallie spot in the Narrows limit. Realistically, you're looking at like 12 pounds max. Usually at like 7 to 12 pounds is kind of the Narrows.
Yeah.
Good for when they're shut off, but kind of a layup day.
Yeah. Yeah. So at that time, me and my partner decided the game plan was if we got a limit to run. And we kind of were like, do we run all the way to the east side at that point in time, or do we run back to Capel Cove? Capel Cove was set up with a ton of birds in it.
Ton of birds.
And we saw fish in it the week before, so we ran back to Capel Cove. That's where we launched at. figured that'd be the least amount of gas because we didn't think anything was going to happen. And we got into Capel Cove. There's weeds, 45.
This is afternoon by now.
Afternoon
right?
by now. I figured things were going to be warming up by then.
Rain had stopped. I think
it was
rain had stopped.
Sun came out for
sun came out a little bit. Yeah.
So I picked up the A-rig. I was throwing the A-rig. I was throwing threadfin shad on the A-rig, the 2.2s, 2.8 teasers, 3.3s here, threadfin shad in the middle, but my bottom two were rainbow shad.
Rainbow shad, yeah.
Rainbow shad were the bottom two. And I was throwing it close to the bank, rolling it out, slow rolling it. I was picking up weeds here and there. But I ended up in the Narrows, or in Capel Cove area, Burning Bank, basically calling almost every one of my fish except for one. I had one that was like a 2.6 spot from the Narrows, which was a decent fish for a spot. But that's how I ended up with the 1196.
1196.
Yeah.
Not bad. My afternoon, after that bite shut off in the Narrows, I ran around a little bit, went to Big Island. There was a mess of fish there, but I couldn't get them to go. Tried duplicating the 45-degree bank with grass. Found a ton of fish. They just wouldn't eat. For me, I was throwing various things. I pretty much got all of my weight, or I should say I got all my weight from 3 different points in the Narrows in that morning time. I really don't have much keyed on to Saturday. Moving on to Sunday. And this is the part where you figure out who won it and who did mid-level. So for me, Sunday, I caught 2 fish all day. And that was only after I ran into him and he threw me a bone and I said, I might as well weigh in something. Saturday for me, short and sweet. I went back to the Narrows, back to the area that I had caught all of my fish and missed multiple other ones. They were gone. They completely disappeared. Couldn't get connected with them anymore. I ran up north. When I was up north, saw enough between the two that kind of told me what I needed to do, but did not listen to myself, and ran back into the Narrows. Again, didn't work out. Ended up, basically the wind picked up, the rain picked up. We went inside Capel Cove, spot locked out of the wind, and was just waiting for the time to expire. BSing, having fun, not caring about fishing. And we ran into this guy, and that leads to, how'd your day go?
So with Sunday, the weather definitely was changing. The wind was going to be between 10 to 15 miles an hour. It's supposed to rain all day long, and it did.
And wind from the south.
My partner was talking about going to the Narrows, and I was like, we caught bigger fish. We caught a full limit in Capel Cove on Saturday. Spanish Flats kind of sets up the same way. And I said, well, let's go to Spanish Flats first, see if we can't pick something up. When we blasted off, one of our members was ahead of me and turned in there. So I just turned around, went right back to Capel Cove, started doing exactly what I was doing in the evening or the afternoon on Saturday. And I probably didn't make it 50 yards down the bank, and I picked up a 372 on a A-rig, doing the exact same thing. High-fived, good times, hooting and hollering a little bit, right? Because we didn't know how the day was going to be with the weather change. My partner hooked into a fish that was larger than that 372, and it was on an underspin with the threadfin shad 3.3
on a cool baits underspin.
Yeah, cool baits underspin, and we actually saw it. It walked and spit it, and we kind of were like, oh,
yeah,
all right, well, let's go.
Yeah, the ones that break your heart, the ones that let you see what they are as they give you your bait back.
Correct. So we continue to fish around there, drive around. We picked up a couple other fish. We picked up a fish on a mop top, Yamamoto grub, basically like a jig.
Spider grub, twin-tailed skirted grub.
Yep.
All same names.
Picked one up on that, and we started burning bank again. And I picked up another 3+. Went to another point. My partner picked up. He actually changed.
Burning bank with a rig.
A-rigs,
not with
yes.
the underspin.
Yeah.
Burning bank with a rig.
A-rigs. My partner picked one up with the A-rig. It wasn't one that stayed in the limit, but we're just burning bank, staying in Capel Cove. Basically, didn't leave the 5 mile an hour all day. And I got to one point and I threw across, and my rod went slack, like I didn't have an A-rig on it anymore, and I couldn't catch up to it. Never felt it.
Those ones hurt.
Oh well. We already had like 14 to maybe 15 pounds at that point in time.
And day one, I forgot to say that. Day one had 1510 was day one winner, Saturday's winner. So that's the target weight you're looking for is 1510.
Yeah. So we had 1501 at that time. And I just regrouped, just out there having a good time. I threw back in to the exact same point across, it's basically the same cast. And this time it just stopped, and it was on. It was a 465, 454, 454, largemouth. Every one of these fish was a largemouth. Was a 454, and we caught it, and there wasn't very many more points. So we fished some points, and we kind of came out. And as soon as we came out, that's when he ran into me and my partner,
just hanging out, BSing, zero fish in the box. When I told him I had zero fish, he did not believe me, and I 100% had zero fish. I kind of didn't care, actually. I was having enough fun BSing with my partner that it was a nice day. I mean, it was cold, but it was just a nice day to not be at work or not be at home for me. He told me about the A-rig bite. Then he pulled away, motoring off, tootling down the road, and we decided to go pick up a couple A-rig fish just to have something to weigh in. So we had like 2 fish for 3 pounds or 333 or something like that. Yeah, that was horrible, but it was still fun. I was finding on Sunday, a lot of fish outside of Capel Cove that were following my A-rig, that I could see them on forward scan as I'm burning down the bank. And they would follow the A-rig and the underspin. They wouldn't touch any other baits or follow any other baits. But they wouldn't eat them. Hindsight, just keep moving until you find the ones that eat them. And that's basically what he did. Moral of the story for me is, even though it's snow, do not count out those fish that are 10 foot or less. All my fish came from 10 foot or less, minus 1 or 2 came from 20 foot. They were out on a deep grass section. Most of his fish came from also 10 foot or less. That whole, if it snows, go down shallow or go down deep and yada, yada, yada. In my experience, the person who figures out the shallow bite in those conditions usually has bigger fish on average than the rest of the fish. So that's a good little nugget at the end of this video, or near the end of this video. basically, just because there's weather, don't automatically go to deep ledges. Especially if you go to those deep ledges and you find fish that aren't active, there's something hungry somewhere. And a cold snap can cause those bait to freeze up, go slow, and be easily ambushable. And that's why I think those big ones pull up. Or bigger ones pull up.
Yeah, what was my total weight?
Total weight, sorry, I almost forgot that. His total weight on Sunday was 1765 with that 454 kicker.
Yeah.
So you're looking at over a 3-pound average.
We had one in the box that I weighed, not official, that was 244.
Yeah, so you got a 3-pound average plus a 4.5, or a little bit over a 3-pound average plus 4.5. Not bad considering multiple weights with limits were under that, like 11, 10 pounds or less. I ended up finishing 5th for the whole weekend. It's kind of hard to explain our points. We take the things, but I ended up 5th for the whole weekend. He was 1st for the whole weekend with big fish for the weekend. That's pretty much the recap.
Yeah. I'm kind of excited. I wouldn't mind going back.
Yeah. We do have Comanche pre-fishing to do. In 2 weeks from now is going to be a Comanche recap. Hopefully that goes well. Hopefully they're kind of in the same moods. I don't know. It depends on the weather. Anything else you got to add?
No. Get out there and have a good time.
Pretty much get out there, get something active. Just because it's cold doesn't mean the fish are cold. That water still stayed the same temperature. It maybe lost like a degree or two. Didn't drop that much even though it snowed.
50, 51 degrees in most areas for the weekend.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
And great news is all the ramps are open at Berryessa.
Yep, all ramps are open at Berryessa. They all are paved ramps. Capel ramp is still, it's actually currently free when we were there.
Right.
I don't believe it is paying yet. Other than that, get out there, get fishing, and I hope you get them.
Let us know how you guys are doing. Message us.
Yeah, comments.
If you guys have a lake that you want us to try to break down, let us know. We'll run it.
Yep, we'll run it. We got some. We got a couple of random weekends coming up here soon that don't have tournaments in them. Yeah, I think that's it.